22 years. That's how long Monica kept a secret. She took the fall. She stayed silent. She waited. But the man she protected? He married her sister. And when Monica got out, a box was waiting on her doorstep. Inside, proof she was played. From day one. They told her to keep her head down. Just do your time, Monica. He'll be there when you get out. So she did. No appeals. No complaints. Just 8,030 days of waking up in a cell for a crime she didn't commit because he asked her to. Because she loved him. Because she believed him. And every year on her birthday, he sent a letter. No return address. Just a handwritten card with 5 words. Still here. Still waiting. Always. So when she got out, she didn't ask questions. She didn't look for him. She trusted the plan. Until she got to her mother's house and saw a wedding photo on the mantel. There he was, standing in a tuxedo, smiling wide, holding hands with her baby sister, Kayla. And when she asked her mother, all she got was a sigh, and a single sentence she couldn't unhear. They thought you'd never get out. The next morning, a package showed up at the door. No name, no return address, just her name, Monica. Written in that same familiar handwriting. Inside was a stack of photos, a hard drive, and a letter she would read 100 times. A letter that made her sit down, grip the kitchen table, and cry for the first time in years. A letter that started with, "If you're reading this, then you finally know." Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Monica Ruiz spent over 2 decades behind bars for a crime she insists she didn't commit. A mother at 26, a convicted felon at 27. At 49, she walked out of prison with just a small duffel bag and a heart full of unanswered questions. She had protected her husband, Darren Ruiz, with everything she had. Her freedom, her future, even her voice. Because that's what love looked like to her back then. Because she thought he'd done the same for her. But now, he's married to her sister, Renee Parker, a woman who was still in high school when Monica was sentenced. A woman Monica once braided hair for, packed lunch for, stood up for. So why did Renee look her in the eye at the welcome home dinner and pretend nothing had happened? What exactly did Monica go to prison for? Did Darren orchestrate everything from the beginning, manipulate her into taking the fall, then rewrite the story while she sat behind bars? And that box, the one with the hard drive, the photos, the letter, what truth was inside? Was it finally the evidence to clear her name or just another layer of betrayal? And what role did Renee really play? Was she just collateral damage, or was she in on it too? The detective who worked Monica's case, Harlan Shaw, retired 10 years ago. But when he saw Monica's name flash across a news report the day she was released, he picked up the phone. Because something about the case never sat right with him. Something in Monica's silence. Something in Darren's charm. And now, for the first time, Monica is ready to talk. But as her story unfolds, one thing becomes painfully clear. Love didn't fail her. Family did. Before the courtroom, before the orange jumpsuit, before the silence that would last 22 years, Monica Ruiz was just a working-class woman trying to hold her marriage together. Living in rural Alabama, in a rented 2-bedroom house just outside of Montgomery, she worked long hours at a diner during the day and cleaned medical offices at night. Not because she had to, but because she believed in Darren. He had dreams, big ones. He wanted to start a trucking company, be his own boss. Monica believed in all of it. Even when it meant her missing birthdays. Even when the bills started piling up. Even when Darren didn't come home for days and always seemed to have a reason that never quite added up. She'd come home with swollen feet, her uniform smelling like burnt grease and bleach, and still make dinner from scratch. Biscuits from flour, gravy from whatever was left. And on the nights Darren did show up, she'd sit across from him and pretend not to notice how far away his eyes seemed. Pretend not to feel the distance in the room. That was her first mistake. thinking that love meant pretending. Renee Parker was still a teenager back then. Just 18, fresh out of high school, living with their mother but always finding an excuse to be at Monica's house. She was beautiful, bright eyes, bold attitude, always needing help with something. "Can I borrow your iron? Can I stay the night? Can you give me a ride to work?" Monica never thought much of it. She'd practically raised Renee while their mom worked nights, so it just felt natural. But what she didn't see, what no one told her, was how often Darren's eyes followed Renee when Monica wasn't looking, or how Renee smiled when she thought no one noticed. There was a birthday party that summer. Nothing fancy. Just friends, family, music, and cheap beer. Darren was drunk before the sun even went down, and Monica had stepped inside to check on the food. When she came back out, she found Renee laughing at something Darren whispered in her ear. Too close, too familiar. And when Monica locked eyes with Darren across the yard, he didn't flinch. He didn't even blink, just smiled and raised his cup. After that night, little things started to feel off. Darren began taking loads out of town more frequently, sometimes back-to-back weeks. Monica would find withdrawals from their joint account she didn't remember approving. She asked him about it once, just once, and he laughed it off. "You know I'm building something for us. Why you always gotta stress me?" She let it go, because she didn't want to be the nagging wife, because she didn't want to admit she was scared of the answer. But the real turning point? A phone call. Late. Just after midnight. Darren was in the shower. Monica reached over, thinking it might be one of his drivers. The screen said Renee. No last name, just the name that made her stomach drop. She didn't answer, and she didn't ask him about it either, because by that point, trust had turned into silence, and silence into survival. Looking back now, Monica says she felt it. Not all at once, but like water rising slowly. The discomfort, the questions, the way her home no longer felt safe. But she didn't have a name for it yet. And she didn't have proof. She only had this aching feeling in her chest, like something precious was being taken from her while she slept. Monica didn't know it yet, but betrayal was already setting its roots, quietly, patiently, in the people she trusted most. It was a Tuesday morning when everything came crashing down. The body of a man named James Cole was found behind an abandoned warehouse just outside of Birmingham. His skull had been fractured, blunt force trauma from a crowbar. No witnesses, no calls for help. Just a lifeless body slumped near a loading dock with a trail of blood leading to an empty freight container. James wasn't a stranger. He was Darren Ruiz's business partner, a quiet man, kept to himself, known for being good with numbers and cautious with money. The two of them had gone in on a trucking contract together just months earlier, a side deal, separate from Monica, with over $150,000 tied up in it. Now, the money was gone, and James was dead. The investigation didn't take long to turn toward Monica. A crowbar found in a ditch nearby was traced back to her garage. Same paint flecks, same worn grip Darren used to fix the back fence. Her fingerprints were on it, but she hadn't used that crowbar in over a year. She was sure of it. Surveillance footage showed her car, her actual car, turning onto the street where the murder took place just 2 hours before the estimated time of death. She said she wasn't driving, but there were no dash cams, no receipts, no alibi. Police swarmed their home that evening. Monica had just gotten home from work, still in her scrubs. Darren was already there, sitting on the porch, not saying a word. When officers approached, he didn't even ask why, just lit a cigarette and looked away. Monica was calm during the interrogation, too calm maybe. She asked for a lawyer. She answered only the basics. She didn't raise her voice, she didn't cry, but deep down she was panicking. Not for herself, but for Darren. She thought if she stayed quiet, they'd investigate further and find out the truth, that someone else had used her car, that the crowbar had been planted, that she had nothing to gain from hurting James Cole. But instead, She was charged with second-degree murder and theft by deception. She sat in jail for 73 days before taking a plea. Her lawyer advised her to speak up, to tell the truth. But Darren visited once during that time, just once, and told her what he needed her to do. Told her she had a better chance of surviving prison than he did. Told her they could still have a future when she got out. She believed him. So Monica Ruiz signed a plea deal, confessing to a crime she didn't commit. She said she acted alone, that she hit James Cole during an argument, that she took the money, that it was her fault. But what if she was covering for someone? At sentencing, Monica stood before the judge with a stiff spine and swollen eyes. She didn't ask for mercy. She didn't cry. She turned toward the gallery, looked straight at Darren, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. Life in prison didn't begin the day Monica Ruiz put on the uniform. It began the day she realized no one was coming for her. The first few months inside were brutal, confusing, loud, and cold in a way no one prepares you for. She was placed in general population at Julia Tutwiler Prison, and right away she stood out. Not hardened, not loud. She kept her head down, didn't ask questions, and rarely spoke. But that didn't shield her. She was attacked in her third week, just for looking at someone too long in the chow line. Her first stint in solitary came 6 months later, after stepping between two women during a fight in the yard. It wasn't bravery. It was instinct. That was Monica, always trying to protect people even in a place that demanded you only protect yourself. Her letters to Darren started off hopeful, 3 pages at a time, telling him about her cellmates, asking about his trucking business, begging him to visit, and for a while, he did. Once a month, then every other. He brought Renee once or twice too. Renee would sit awkwardly in the corner, barely speaking, eyes cast down, as if she couldn't bear to look Monica in the face. Still, Monica convinced herself that meant guilt, not betrayal, that Renee was just struggling to forgive herself for not doing more. But 4 years in, the visits stopped. The letters too. No explanation. Just silence. Total, cold silence. Monica found out her father had passed away from a correctional officer. Her mother died 2 years later. No funeral, no call, just a yellow slip from the warden's office and a form to sign. She sat on her bunk that night and stared at the ceiling for hours, the walls closing in with every breath. And that was when something inside her started to shift. It wasn't anger, it was clarity. She started to think back, to the trial, to Darren's last visit, to Renee's tight smile, to all the things that didn't add up. The crowbar, the footage, the missing money. It all kept circling back to the man she swore she'd go to hell for, and the sister who stopped visiting the moment Monica stopped being useful. Year 11 came and went, then 14, then 17, and then, one day, in year 19, a rumor made its way around the prison. A journalist had published an article about Detective Harlan Shaw, who had recently retired from the Birmingham Police Department. In it, he reflected on old cases that still haunted him. When asked about the Ruiz case, he said something strange. Something about that case always felt off. The confession was too clean, too convenient. But orders were orders, and I stopped asking questions. That quote, just 12 words, lit a fire inside one man. Daniel Ruiz, an investigative reporter from Atlanta who specialized in wrongful convictions. He began digging. He requested transcripts, filed FOIA requests, tracked down the original case files, and what he found didn't make headlines, yet, but it raised questions. Financial records showed Renee Parker receiving 4 separate wire transfers in the months surrounding Monica's trial. None of them had clear origins, but 2 were from an LLC tied to Darren's old business address. Did someone pay Renee to keep quiet? Daniel reached out to Renee, but she refused to speak. No comment, no emails, no returned calls. But the silence told him something. So he did something Monica never expected. He wrote her a letter. She received it on a cold morning, her hands trembling as she held the envelope. Inside was a single sentence. "I believe you didn't do it, and I have questions about Darren." Let us know in the comments. What would you feel if a stranger told you after 2 decades in prison that someone finally believed you? Would you hope, or would you protect yourself from it? And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. After 22 years behind bars, Monica Ruiz didn't walk out of Julia Tutwiler with a celebration. There were no balloons, no family waiting at the gates, just a faded denim jacket and a plastic bag with everything she owned. She stood outside the prison for a moment, staring at the road like she had forgotten how to belong in the free world. Alabama's summer heat hit her in the face. It smelled like fresh asphalt and pine trees, things she hadn't smelled in decades. She walked to a halfway house where she was supposed to start over. But how do you start over when your past still owns you? A week after her release, just after breakfast, the front desk buzzed her room. "Miss Ruiz, you've got a delivery." She hadn't ordered anything. The box was plain. No stamps, no return address. Taped up carefully like someone didn't want it to break. Inside was one thing: a black flash drive wrapped in tissue paper and a note written in block letters. "You need to see the truth." She didn't even own a computer, but a volunteer at the community center let her use one in the library. Monica plugged in the drive with shaking hands, her heart pounding so hard she could barely breathe. And what she saw next, after 2 decades of silence, ripped the bottom out of everything she thought she knew. It was hidden camera footage, time-stamped, dated just 4 days after James Cole was murdered. The setting, a motel room in Montgomery. The people, Darren and Renee. The audio was grainy at first, but then it became clear. Darren: "She'll never find out." Renee: "You sure?" Darren: "She thinks she's saving me. Let her rot." Monica paused the video. Her knees buckled. The screen blurred through her tears. But she kept watching. Another file auto-played. This time it was Darren again, but alone. He was seated at a desk, holding a stack of documents. He looked nervous. The camera angle caught him from the side. Monica leaned in closer. He picked up a pen. The name at the bottom of the page: Monica Ruiz. And then he signed it. Her name. In her handwriting. A signature she hadn't written. The date on the document was just 1 week before her plea deal. There was more. The last folder on the drive contained courtroom footage spliced side by side with original trial audio. It showed Renee on the stand, tearfully claiming she hadn't seen Darren the night of the murder. But next to it, surveillance footage, time-stamped from that same night. Darren and Renee, together, buying bleach gloves and cigarettes at a 24-hour gas station just outside of town. The audio and visual timelines didn't match. Her sworn testimony? False. For 22 years, the truth sat buried in motel rooms, surveillance tapes, and forged paperwork. And now, in one flash drive, Monica held it all. Let us ask you this. How would you feel if everything you lost could have been saved by one forgotten file? Would you break? Or would you fight? Monica Ruiz didn't sleep the night she watched the flash drive. She sat in the dark with a cup of lukewarm coffee, staring out the halfway house window like it might answer the questions her heart couldn't. Was it worth it? After 22 years of silence, would anyone even believe her now? The next morning, she got on a city bus and took the flash drive straight to the district attorney's office. She didn't call ahead, didn't ask for an appointment. She walked up to the front desk and said, "I served 22 years for a crime I didn't commit, and this proves it." That same afternoon, a new investigation was launched. It didn't take long. With the drive's contents, audio, video, and forged documents, authorities moved quickly. Darren Ruiz and Renee Parker were arrested 3 weeks later. The charges: conspiracy to commit murder, evidence tampering, obstruction of justice, and financial fraud. They were pulled from their gated house in matching silver handcuffs. Cameras rolled. Neighbors whispered. But just when Monica thought she'd seen it all, one final file on the flash drive revealed a darker truth. A hidden camera clip. Low quality, almost missed. Dated 2 weeks before her plea deal. In it, Darren sits across from a man in a suit, Monica's former public defender, a man she had trusted, a man who told her she had no shot in court, that a plea was the only option. Darren slides something across the table, an envelope, thick, sealed, cash, and then the lawyer says, "She won't talk. She's loyal, just like you said." Monica's body went numb. She hadn't just been betrayed by the man she loved, or the sister she once held during nightmares, but by the one person who was supposed to fight for her freedom, her own lawyer. It made her sick. It made her want to scream. How many people knew? How deep did the betrayal go? There was no real answer, just echoes, and questions she'd never get closure for. But Monica didn't chase revenge. Not anymore. A month later, she visited the street she grew up on. Her childhood home, boarded up, forgotten, still had the red swing on the porch, the same one she and Renee used to fight over as kids. She walked up the cracked concrete steps, taped a note to the front door, and stepped back. The note read, "You took my time, but you won't take my peace." She didn't cry. She just walked away. And maybe, for the first time in 22 years, she finally felt free. How would you feel if the people you trusted most turned their backs on you and let you waste your life for a crime they committed? What would justice look like for you? Let us know in the comments. We really want to hear your thoughts on this story. Monica served 22 years, but the truth is only just came out. What would you do if everything you believed in turned out to be a lie? Because this story, it's not over. Would you take the fall for someone you loved? Would you stay quiet if it meant saving them? Or would you fight back, even if it meant exposing everything and everyone? Have you ever been betrayed by the person you trusted most? Maybe it wasn't as big as what happened to Monica, but maybe it hurt just as deep. What would you have done with that flash drive? Turn it in? Destroy it? Use it? Because after 2 decades behind bars, Monica Ruiz didn't just walk out of prison with scars, she walked out with truth. And now, she's finally ready to use it. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We really want to hear your thoughts. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Because this story, it's not over. In the next episode, Monica's battle for justice continues, but her enemies aren't done.